Hello everyone. This is Wagaki Mushiri. Very happy to come back to you with my friend
Andrew.
And I'm looking back at our last conversation where we were discussing different topics and we introduced the element of love and work. And I promised that we would continue with a conversation about work and why work is important. However, looking back, I feel like we did not fully exhaust the topic of love, because considering love is the foundation of everything, and our goal is really to share our knowledge, our lessons, our experiences. We feel that the youth need to understand love in a more deeper way, in a more personal way. So this is my feeling, and I want to ask Andrew, what do you think? Did we really exhaust the topic when we spoke last time?
For sure, I think we did not exhaust, and it is not exhaustible. Like if you can remember yesterday, we were talking about different kinds of love, and we said we cannot even tackle all. Actually, I think I'll agree with you, because you cannot exhaust the topic of love, because as we were talking about the other day, love has different components, and I had suggested that we deal with love for a man and a woman. And in fact, if you think about work, where does work come from? Work is from people. Where do people come from? Where is that initial relationship between a male and a female? So I think the best thing is, first of all, instead of leaving our audience hanging, why don't you go back there? I agree with you. So,
okay, that's a good one. So my question, I'm thinking aloud really, and I know not yesterday, the other day when we were speaking, we asked ourselves what love is, and I went down to look at that love starts from the family. So when we go down to a male and a female relationship, which probably will then translate into marriage and bearing children, the question is, how do you really get to know that you are in love, and that the person that you have met that is making your blood boil and making you have sleepless nights and making you fail your exams, as you mentioned, how do you confirm that this is really the person for me?
Remember yesterday we talked about, what is that word? Infatuation. But let's say and agree that there is this attraction that comes between a male and a female. And then when they are attracted to each other, they come together, they start dating. After dating, they come into courtship. I don't think we can talk fully about those things, although I think it is also necessary to differentiate between dating and courtship. And finally, they get into a union called marriage. And I think from there, when they start bringing issues, that is children, I would tend to think that is where now things should start. Wow, blah, 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 all that. Do you think we should first of all talk about what is dating, what is courtship, all that stuff?
Maybe just to highlight, because some people, can you skip one of those? I mean, must I go through them in a process, or do they come together, or can you even experience it later on if you find yourself in a marriage situation?
I think it's doable, because the community from Asia, remember? We are told that who goes for who? Is it the man or the...
I think the lady pays the dowry, for example. I don't know who falls in love with the other or approaches the other.
Yeah, but even in African communities, we hear that a man sits in the house and a girl will be delivered to him or stuff like that.
Yeah, those were my grandmother's time. You've just reminded me that there were times when girls would actually be picked up by the friends of the groom.
Yes, put
And-
them on their shoulders sometimes, their story.
I know, and that was meant to be love, or was that abduction?
Abduction that will people think will translate into love somehow.
And I think it did actually.
But in a formal relationship, I think it starts with a normal attraction. Either the man or the woman will be attracted to each other, to the other. They'll start dating without necessarily having real plans for the future. But sometimes down the line, you'll find they become so attracted to each other such that they don't want to leave each other. You find you are unable to live without the other. So you start planning for your future, both of you. And I think that is where courtship now starts. When you start showing your true self, during dating. And don't ask me how it was during my time, because I can see that is where you're headed. But during dating, people will come in all sorts of wearing masks in us. You can even borrow a suit to go see a girl. You can even go to Mshwari or any other Tala, or even go to bank to get money. Simply because this girl you are attracted to, you want to show her that you are somebody. But then when she gets into box, and the one I hear people saying kuingia box, then you become yourself. This is my true self. I don't have a job. I don't have a keja. Stuff. What do you think?
And I think many young people are finding themselves in that situation. I have had parents complain that the man is no longer the same, or the woman is not the same. Or you actually find a boy and a girl decide to get married. Yes, they are in love, but you go into this home and you find that perhaps the girl was never taught how to cook. And I'm going back to what you shared the other day, and you were saying how your mother taught you how to make mokimo in an African pot without breaking it. You learned how to make chapati. But today's wife or girl, they don't necessarily have to know how to cook. Are those ingredients of love, or things that young people should look out for? Is there a checklist, for example, where I can say my wife should know how to do this and this and this, my husband should know how to fix a bulb, should know how to change a tire of a vehicle, should know how to seal a leaking tap? I mean, what are the basics? Or that has nothing to do with love?
I'll say we don't have to have a checklist, but there is something called responsibility in a relationship, or in marriage. Let me put it that way. Because when you come together, of course, we expect to eat. Somebody will have to go to the kitchen to cook. Somebody will have to do the dishes. Somebody will have to fix the bulb. If you come into the relationship without the knowledge of doing, how do you think it will work? Do you think it will work? It won't. It won't even survive a man. So it is the honors of the parents, I would say, to teach their kids, their children, so that they become, is it marriage material, or what do I say?
So when you're saying that, I am keen to ask, so what are the expectations? What should be my expectation as a woman when I go into marriage? I know you've said that you hope that the man or even the woman would come with some skills. Is it wrong for me to come with those expectations that I am marrying a handyman, a person who will be able to do the heavy jobs and the lifting jobs?
Now that you touch that word expectation, I think it is also at this juncture we mention a few things about a real person. For example, a person has his or her own needs. Whether you're married or not married, you have needs. For example, you have need to be loved, needs to have free space for yourself. We call it autonomy. We have such needs. And of course, we have wants. For example, you want to pursue your career. You want to drive a car, a big car. You want to have a big house. Those are personal wants, even before you come into relationship with another person. And of course, you have expectations. These are expectations that are things you expect to get from a relationship. So there are people will come because they expect the man will provide for them. They'll come with kilos of meat every other day, stuff like that. So I don't know where to start the checklist or not. I don't have that with me for now. But for real, everybody, regardless whether it is a woman or not, he or she has expectation, personal wants, and personal needs.
Okay, I think there should be some basics, and I know much later we will be tackling the issue of parenting. And for me, parenting becomes very key even when you're parenting little children. Going back to where we spoke the other day about our African Foundation, where everybody worked and there were no boundaries. There were people, you couldn't sit at home and wait to be fed. So going with that premise of where we are coming from, my take would be that there are things that we as parents need to do as we see our children grow, so that when time comes and your daughter or your son falls in love, you will not be an embarrassed parent when someone comes to you and says, by the way, I'm bringing your daughter to stay with you for another 2 weeks or so that she can learn to wash clothes. I would really feel horrible if my daughter was brought back home because she was unable to do one or two things as a girl.
Okay, but remember, there are also reasons, I would call them the wrong reasons, why some people go into marriage.
What do you mean by that?
You already mentioned something like expectations. Yeah, some people also on the other side will go into relationship, into marriage because of wrong reasons. For example, one, pregnancy. Just because you are pregnant is not a good reason to make you get married, because maybe it was a one-night stand and now you are forcing yourself to go into a relationship with somebody that you don't know.
But then, how can I bring a child alone? It is very expensive. Look at our economy today in Kenya with taxes going up every other day. I mean, isn't that reason enough for me to want to get married to somebody?
Think of how long have you been in this life before you got pregnant, and how long do you think you will be in that relationship? Which is a better evil? Is it before or after? You're forcing yourself into a relationship you are not sure of. Yet before, how was it? Look at the better option. Okay. And before I forget, I was telling you the wrong reasons of getting married. Yeah. For example, escape. Because at your place you are so poor or things like that, you want to escape. And also blackmail. You want to blackmail somebody. If I need his or her kid, and once I know I have done all the necessary things, then I can blackmail the person into marriage. Even reasons for something like money. Because you think you'll be in a comfortable relationship if you have the money. But how many people do we see, rich people? They say even that, was it a movie or what? Even the rich cry or something like that. Even age. Some people say, no, it's time to get married. I think I'm over what I need. I need to settle down. Those are the wrong reasons. What did you want to say?
No, I wanted to bring up the issue of, I thought of one wrong reason of peer pressure.
Yeah.
I think in today's world, I have seen a lot of young people feeling pressured. to get married. And sometimes the pressure, and I must confess, this comes from us, the parents. When you see so many of your friends' children have gotten married and your children are still with you at home, we start putting pressure. Or I meet someone's daughter or son and the first question is, kwani hakuna mtu? I think that is a question that we as parents or even peers, we need to stop.
Okay.
Because then you might push someone to get into marriage to the wrong person. And then when things go haywire, they have no one to blame.
My question is, peer pressure is a general term because it is everywhere in everything, in any discipline.
True.
You find them pressurizing others. Now, when it comes to love or marriage, how would you mark the border? How would you do that?
I think everybody should realize that they are unique and that God's timing is always the best. And before you are pressured into marriage or into a relationship, look at the pros and cons. As you talk about peers are really friends and people that we can relate with, we can look at and learn from. And I'm sure that around us, you will find a person or some people that are happily married and you really admire. But then you find that there are others who are not happy. And either they are separated or they are living in very miserable relationships. So when you go, someone pressurizes you to get into a relationship, have a meeting with yourself and just ask, what do I want? I could go into it because of pressure and look like ABCD person, or I could go into it and still be happy. So make a decision out of an informed choice. But also don't jump at any man or woman that comes along the first to ask your hand for marriage, or you asking someone's hand for marriage.
Okay.
Learn them and ask questions. You see, for me, that's why I totally believe in issues of mentorship. Mentorship is not just about careers or other issues that are outside the inner me, my emotions. I think find a mentor that can talk to you about relationships, about marriage, and can be very, very honest with you about what marriage is really, what are the hidden issues in marriages. Don't be cheated by what you see outside, good or bad. I think marriages really do work, but you need to have someone walk with you that journey.
Sorry to ask this. Did you yourself fall into pressure when you are getting married?
Actually, no. Now you want me to reveal my secrets. No, I didn't get pressured, but I know I did not want to be pushed. Just a little confession is, when the man who married me, finally married me, I had kept him pending for over 5 years because I didn't want him to pressure me. Of course, his first words when he catiered me, or when he tried to ask me to be his girlfriend, the first thing was, I want to marry you, and that really put me off. And it was over 5 years later that I eventually agreed to get married. So there was no pressure for me. Yeah.
Oh, great. I remember you were telling me, you are talking about the peer pressure, about, what did you say? That some people will push you into marriage, yet you have not known the other person. That reminded me of one of my books. Nobody told me, remember? I have quoted an American preacher. Was it a preacher or whoever it was? That it was, I found it funny. When you are getting into a serious relationship, it's time to ask the person, where do you live? Do you live in a cave or in a house? Is the house rented? Is it yours? Does it have mortgage?
Checklist, remember? I talked of checklist.
And what made me laugh was, do you go to the do you give yourself a shine in the morning? Do you use water or soap?
Oh, when you're showering in the morning, if at all.
Yeah. So we are talking of real issues should be tackled during this courtship time, and if you go into these issues seriously, I think you'll not be pressured by anybody, unless you want to shut your eyes and say, okay, I'll get married because people are getting married, and then 2, 3. I hear honeymoon ends after 3 years. Have you ever heard of that?
You're telling me I'm not.
Yeah, marrying experts, that is what they say. After 3 years, the honeymoon ends. It's time now to start serious work. And if you were in that infatuation kind of when you got married, this is the end of things. But if you married a friend or somebody you are really into, and you continue keeping that friendship, your marriage has more chances of survival after those 3 years.
So, can I add and go back to where we started? Are you saying that to keep the fire burning, we must continue dating even after we get married, so that we can?
Of course. I've seen people, they get married, and then when the wife becomes their kitchen, do you say house material, such that she belongs to the house, and the man belongs to the pubs. He is to come at night, get food, sleep, wake up in the morning, go wherever, whether it is to work or wherever he goes, and the cycle repeats itself. Even during weekends, even Sundays, when you say it is a family day, you'll find them, they are out there with the kids, but the man is busy behind a newspaper reading while the woman is feeding kids here.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dating is a must. Of course, there are some things that will change, because that beautiful girl you saw and got married to because of her beauty, that beauty will not be sustained forever. But you need to keep the friendship, the fire burning, keep dating. I know when I was working somewhere, I won't mention where, a certain manager told me one day that she and her husband used to go out every Wednesday for dinner.
Wow.
Every Wednesday.
Did you admire that, or do you feel that it kind of becomes a duty?
Me, I thought she had to pressurize the man to an extent it became a duty. You see, these things we call love or relationship or friendship is nothing to be. You cannot pick a pen and paper and say we'll be going out every. It's like the checklist you are talking about. When it comes to that, especially men, I know they don't fall into such formulas.
I think for me, as we come to the conclusion of this topic of love, which is really not possible to exhaust, I would say take time to know her, to know him. It's not an overnight thing. There is a song there by, was it Persis Lange?
Yeah.
Yes, there is a song there that says take time to know him or her, because marriage is not an overnight thing. Learn of who it is that you are getting yourself involved in. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, and I should also add something like just the way we build houses. By the time you go into building, you need to assess the materials that you are going to use for building. You need sand, whatever, stones, stuff like that. I think it is the same thing when you start building a relationship. You need to assess materials made by you or made the materials that the woman is made of. For example, discipline. Somebody who is honest, faithful, somebody who is responsible, somebody who can be he has what you call accountability. Such stuff. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then you are getting married into a stranger.
Why do I feel like I want to question some of those materials that you've talked about?
For example, which one?
Because by the time some of you see, you talked about masks or the character of somebody.
Yeah.
What of if when we were dating and in our first years of marriage, the honeymoon, maybe all these things were there, but then either pressures of work or things happen and the person starts changing. So you talked about, I just want to use the word, one that I've seen many couples disagreeing with, issues of friendships. They probably go into wrong company, issues of infidelity or faithfulness, issues of money. Depending on the company you keep, you might be advised have your little kitty somewhere so that nobody has access to this. What happens? Because some of the relationships today that are shaky are broken by elements that were not visible when people are getting married or even the first years of their marriages. Do you have an idea what happens?
I would say, first of all, you have reminded me something. Is it in the Bible or wherever it is? Or I used to hear my mom say, I don't know where I got it, that teach your child when he or she is young. I think it is a Bible. And when that child grows up, he will never forget. Is there something like that?
Yes, it's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible. So during removing the mask, when somebody has already removed and you see the real person, there is nothing else that is the real person. What happens later, the changing that you are talking about, is one of it is peer pressure, friends, and that is why we are told when you are assessing materials, one of the reasons why you need somebody to be able to build a wall to keep off friends who are a threat to the family. Some people will go to pubs just because others are going. For example, these guys who go to watch football in pubs, yet he has a 90 by 90 TV, wall to wall. Why? Because he wants to be in a different company. So these companies, you need to check them out. They change people. But the reality, the inner person is still the same old person who was brought up by a parent who made sure he put responsibility in the person.
I get you. And I guess that is why maybe what you're talking about, the renewal of your love, the dating, the dialogue, the daily dialogue or conversations between a couple becomes very important. Because sometimes, just holding grudges or not asking questions or not putting issues on the table in a loving manner, by the way, not in a fighting manner. Because sometimes, depending on how you raise issues, you could send a person out the gate and they might come back at some wee hours. So my thinking is, it is so hard to exhaust this topic of love because it gets deeper,
of course,
and perhaps more complex as you talk to different people. And I know in one of your books, which one is it? Is it your third book or fourth book, that you're covering issues of love?
It's the fifth.
It's not yet published. Is it?
I'm doing the last chapters.
Awesome. I can't wait to read the stories because from the little that I have seen, you are bringing out real issues of love.
Okay.
Things that a person might have thought, I'm in love, and then things go south and you ask yourself, what was that supposed to be? Or what is the book all about, if I may ask? I know it's another book under the title Nobody Told Me. So what is this that nobody told about love?
In that book, the book is divided into 3 parts. The first part is the real marriages or relationships that have worked.
Awesome. Wow.
Right from the onset, from the dating to the current.
Okay.
There are about 8 to 9 chapters. Real issues or real people, with real people, not just abstract stuff. that have worked. That is part one. Part two is for the other side of it. Marriages that have not worked. Real issues again, real people. Another 8 to 9 or 10 chapters. How they started and how their love or relationship went down the drain. And then the last chapter is about how things should be.
That's part 3 of the book.
Yes. How real, like what we are talking about now. What are the things that people, what is that cement? What is that, those materials that bind the people so that marriages are able. For example, in that part I have talked about real issues that make people apart. Things, for example, things like communication, things like sex, things like listening, things like friendship. They are all tackled in chapter, not chapter, but in part 3 of the book.
Wow.
And I want to say at this juncture that my books, they are not, the whole idea is to bring out people, they tell their stories so that one is able to relate with the story. Yeah, that's it.
Great. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to this chat. That's what I will call it. It's a chat under the Nobody Told Me series, where we are saying, let them know. Idea being that we are tackling issues in society that are affecting us, affecting mainly our youth, because nobody told them. But we are saying it is time for us to tell them. So let them know. We'll continue. In the next session, we will be back. Thank you so much. This is Wagaki Mushiri and
Andrew.
Goodbye. God bless. See you next time.
Cheers.